Hi, I'm Janice Fisher.
And I'm Eddie Wilson.
And welcome to the premiere show of The Spotlight. We have a variety of guests that we cannot wait to introduce you to.
Now, our first guest name is Wes Miller. Now, he's a filmmaker, a writer, and a director. And he's a local filmmaker here in Orlando. So, and his name actually rings across the world.
He's worked with John Cusack, George Lopez, Zoe Saldana, Taye Diggs, and I can go on, but you know what? He's here. So let's give him a warm welcome, Mr. Wes Miller.
Oh, thank you,
Right.
thank you.
Come on in.
Nice to meet you.
Nice
Wes.
to meet you.
Hey.
All right.
Awesome, thank you for having me.
All right.
Thank you for being here.
Awesome.
Well, we've heard so much about you. I mean, it's finally to be able to meet the man himself.
Oh, thank you.
Now, this is something I just find incredible, where you did a complete career change.
Yes.
And to me, it's more like, it reminds me of like kind of when Michael Jordan went from playing basketball to baseball.
I see it being way more than that because that's just a sport going to another sport. I mean, you took a complete different path.
Complete.
Yeah.
Yep, U-turn.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you have a point. Now, what I'm saying here is that like you went from, in 2012, closing your practice, and you went from being a lawyer to a filmmaker. Like, how does this happen?
With a lot of fear and a lot of hard work and a lot of belief in yourself. So actually what happened was in 2012 is when I really started dibbling and dabbling with like short films, and that's when the bug really bit. I didn't close the practice till 2015 and was, it just basically became, I really believed in this, and I believed in the talent that, that was developing, and I just knew we had to work hard at the craft aspect. There's a saying in the law that the law is a jealous mistress, and that's because it's so demanding. Film, the same thing can be said when you're learning a craft, and I knew I couldn't do both, and so I was just at a crossroads. It's like either or. And I didn't want to wake up at 70 and be like, I wish I would have.
No regrets.
Yeah, and so you live one life, and you know, I felt I had a talent and a skill, and I knew it was a craft that I would just have to continue to develop, and I was willing to go all in and do it.
What type of law did you practice?
Civil rights and personal injury. So I've always wanted to help people, and that's the reason why I went into the law, wanted to kind of make a difference in the world. You know, with film, even in college, it was always one of my first loves, even just way back with Perry Mason and film, and even in law school. I would watch The Verdict to help get motivated, and when I was had a practice, my law firm was decorated with movie posters, legal movie posters. So film and media has always been an important part of my life, and always kind of knocking, you know, on the side a little bit.
What's your favorite film?
I don't really have a favorite film. I have a lot of films, but the one that my guilty pleasure film is A Knight's Tale with Heath Ledger. It's a guilty pleasure film, but you know, for like the action, The Matrix still, you know, rings true. For legal dramas, I still love The Rainmaker. I still love The Verdict. So it's just a lot of different films that, you know, depend on the mood I'm in or what I'm looking for. And, you know, there's just a lot of, you know, good material out that, you know, inspires me.
Like I can say, I totally agree. Now, speaking of movies, I mean, you've been nominated for so many awards. You've won so many awards. With that being said here, for one movie you have called The River Runs Red, and also Hell on the Border. And I think we have a clip of that.
Yeah, we do. We have a clip.
Yes.
Let's watch it.
Officer Von Clemens, you are now being tried for the murder of C.J. Coleman Jr.
Rafael Garcia, time to pay your penalty.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
bravo,
Really well
bravo.
done.
Thank you.
So
Listen,
where was each one filmed?
So River Runs Red was filmed in Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky. You know, we've really been trying to film here, but you know, the lack of incentives make it really, the tax incentives makes it really difficult for the financiers and for me to convince them to like let us shoot here. So that one was Louisville, Kentucky, bitterly cold that year. And then Hell on the Border was shot right outside of Birmingham, Alabama.
okay.
Yeah, so and Hell on the Border for us was, for me, was kind of like a throwback homage to the, you know, Sergio Leone days, and you know, with the African American hero. And then River Runs Red for us, for me, was a like kind of almost reflection of still what's happening today about, you know, a father losing his son to police violence, but that father being inside the system. So, you know, every work that I complete, I want to have some nexus to me as a filmmaker and as a person, you know, being like a only child, you know, being raised by a single mother in Memphis. You know, it's just really important to continue to have diverse pieces and diverse material. And so, you know, we don't see a lot of black heroes in Westerns. So it's like, you know, let's rock one, and had a blast with it.
Wow.
And that was based off of somebody's life, correct?
Yeah, Bass Reeves, first African-American deputy marshal west of the Mississippi. You know, there's rumor that he was the basis for the Lone Ranger, but back then they couldn't make him African-American because of, you know, where the country was. So they based the Lone Ranger off of Mr. Reeves.
And your stories, I mean, even with your films, are still relevant today. Now, I just have to ask this, you know, because I think this is the first time I've ever seen Taye Diggs, George Lopez in an action-packed film.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which is something us men love. You know, I
Yeah.
seen the shooting, the car chases, like,
John Cusack's in it.
yes,
too,
as well.
correct?
Yes,
So
correct.
I was just wondering, like, what was it like working with these, like, phenomenal actors?
You know, it's humbling, you know, having someone with that stature and that level of experience to work through your material that came from like your imagination is really humbling. It's also encouraging because to get talent on your material has to be to a certain standard. And working with them was a lesson for me. George and Taye are both like, they're friends to this day. Like we you know, made real friendships, but they're like George is so genuine, so humble, so giving, and so funny. Like what you see is what you get with George. Like he is really funny.
Right.
And that's why he's had the long career that
yeah,
he has, because
yeah.
it's all about being real,
Yeah,
and
he's
humble, and
And that he is who you see is, that's who he is. And Taye is just amazing. You know, it was a challenge for him because that's not a role that he's normally playing, but he handled it like a champ in it. And it's kind of what we needed for that character with the internal struggle of like a judge who's supposed to work inside of a certain box, but society is thrusting him outside of that box. And what do you do when you are faced with that scenario? And I think we're starting to see a lot of ramifications of that today, even though that was made 2 years ago, with the frustrations in the African American community from the lack of accountability and response. So, you know, those are the kind of shows I want to make, and it's the reason why I did leave the law. And even River is still leaving an impact, you know, even though it's like my first real film, so to speak, but it's still leaving an impact, and hopefully, you know, we continue to make things that last a lot longer than when I'm gone.
Now, when you're writing, do you see a particular actor?
Sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't.
And then it just comes down to the audition process?
Yeah, and so let's say if, you know, I'm working a material, and let's say, for instance, like we're out to Michael Douglas on a new picture. Before I go out to him, I go back and read the script, and I read the dialogue, and I imagine what I know of that actor in that role, and I try to determine, okay, I feel like he could work, I feel like he couldn't work, and then if I feel like creatively it makes sense, then we go. But it's really difficult because we're having to juggle the business plus the creative, and so a lot of times the financiers say we want this person, that person, and creatively I'm like, they don't work.
Right.
And so, you know, you have to have a good financier, a good distributor on board, so you can like work that balance together.
Now, was that a skill or something that you was able to bring over from being an attorney over to filmmaking here to really, because it's called show business. So,
Yeah.
more than half of it is business.
Yeah. It's a good question. I think like a few things that being an attorney did. It allowed me to have a life experience, deal with a lot of people, in different sectors of the world. So like, honestly, from where I grew up, I can go in the hood and be comfortable. The law helped teach me how to be in the boardroom as well. And it also taught me I'm not too naive. I mean, and I could see how filmmakers can get taken advantage of because it's a lot of sharks out there, a lot. And it's even difficult. I'm intelligent, I'm educated, and it's still hard. Like, there are a lot of bad actors out there.
Well, that's a good point to bring up, though. I think the business sometimes gets glamorized, and it's hard work.
Oh,
It
it's
really
very
is.
hard.
It's doing the work. It's putting in the time and doing it.
Yeah, it's very hard. And I'm thankful for that experience. Sometimes I'm like, well, I wish I would have started a little bit sooner, but everybody's path is
meant to be.
different. Yeah, and you just got to take it. I wrote a lot as a lawyer, so that helped transition into the writing. And as a civil rights lawyer, you are on a cycle of income that is not like monthly. So the dips and ebbs of when you get paid is like something that I was already used to.
Right.
So I think it was just a path that God had me on to help, get me ready.
Wow.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it was just perfect timing, because you was able to incorporate that with your film here. So, and you was to a point where you was mature enough in your field to be able to bring it on over. So I gotta ask, so where can we see these films?
Oh, it's funny. Like River Runs Red is still playing on Stars right now. Hell in the Border's on Amazon Prime and iTunes. They're both like pretty much everywhere at this point.
So what are you working on now?
Well, we have so that's that business side.
Right.
And I learned this from Antoine Fuqua. You have to have project stacking because inevitably something's going to fall through. So we have like 3 pieces working. I have one with Tyrese and T.I. called Spite. And then I have another one with Frank Grillo, who I worked with on Hell in the Border. And George and Tay are coming back. We're going to work together again. An action film called A Day to Die. And then I have another one called A Run of a Hitman with Bruce Willis that is like right on the horizon. So whichever one
Clicks.
hits first,
Right.
that's what we're going with. But we're shooting something in December and then like table of the next ones. But COVID just kind of slowed everything down like in March.
everybody.
Yeah, so Spite was supposed to go back then, but then,
Wow.
breaks
Hey,
went
that's
on.
a lot of big fish out there.
Yeah.
So, what would you say? What type of advice would you give that filmmaker that's looking to make that leap of faith like you did here, and that they can push through and kind of put their dream in the spotlight and just show it to the world as well?
Man, it's a good question. I think the real advice would be take your time initially before you take the dive. So it's just kind of like when you're walking to a diving board, you shouldn't run and just leap. You take your time, measure, know how deep the jump is going to be, and get your form right and go. And if you feel like you have the skill and you have the craft and you have the talent, and you've shown that with the little time that you have, you only live once. You have to be prepared for the hard times though, because it's hard. Like the first 2 years for me were extremely hard. It's still hard. I mean, it gets a little easier, but it's a grind. Like every day is a grind. But I would say believe in yourself, and when you feel like your skill level is ready, take that dive and then go all in. And only
you're a
live once.
wonderful example of truly following your dreams
Thank
and your
you.
passions.
Thank you. Yeah.
And you're still living in Orlando. You don't have to live in LA to do this?
No, you don't. You do have to spend some time there. It's a little bit more difficult being outside of LA. But especially now that COVID, with
Zoom,
everybody
too.
Zooming and
Yeah.
everything, I think you get your material as good as it can be. Scripts, that's where it begins. And then just start, making calls and emails and building relationships. And, I did spend like a few months every year, like for the last couple of years, I just go out there for like 3 months for the business side. But I think being outside of LA allows us to stay grounded with real people when you're trying to tell real stories. And in Central Florida, Orlando area, I love it. I got here in 2011, and Me and my wife were like, well, if we went somewhere else, where would we go? I'm like, nowhere.
Nowhere, yeah.
We're gonna stay here. So
Good for you, because
Yeah.
I think a lot of people do just end up moving out there. And I lived out there. I hated the traffic. The traffic
oh
is
yeah,
so bad.
it was bad. We just need the incentives back. Like the
I know.
legislature need to, get their stuff together, because there's a lot of business being lost to Georgia. Now Mississippi is like being really aggressive. Montana, New Mexico, like state, Texas, like Louisiana, Oklahoma, they're just starting to take a lot of it out. And it would be so nice to be able to shoot, go home, lay in my bed, and incorporate the local talent. There's a lot of local talent
Absolutely.
here. But it's hard to get financiers
the
to fly
weather.
people out. Yeah,
weather's
you can shoot
perfect.
year round. So, yeah, we got to encourage them to like really take the art seriously here.
Well, there you go. From the man himself, Mr. Wes Miller.
Thank you.
Thank
And,
you for being on our show.
Thank you for
We
having me. It's
really,
been
really-
awesome.
Yeah, so look, how can we follow you and follow your journey?
Instagram. I haven't been working social media like I should.
Me neither.
Yeah, but I will, and including like in opening up the process leading up to the next couple of films and everything. But yeah, Instagram is probably the best place to follow me.
All right. Yeah. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Wes Miller, and we just want to thank you for being on the
Thank
spotlight.
you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being you.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Wow. I have so much respect for him, for just walking away from a career. An attorney. I mean, I wanted to be an attorney when I was growing up. And then I was in high school and I hated to write papers. When I tell you, I would procrastinate to the point where I would write them the night before and stay up all night. And then,
Hey, trust
I
me.
was much better with numbers.
Hey,
so my attorney career went out the door.
Hey, I can identify with that. I mean, I think I work better under pressure, but he just has an amazing story. He did something that a lot of people probably couldn't do.
I wonder how his mother handled it in the beginning. She was probably like, "What? You went through all that school?"
I'm sure, especially a black mama. Shoot,
Well-
man, it's about all those years, all that money. I know she probably helped him get through school and parents put up a lot of money. I know she was upset.
But guess what?
But-
what he has done now, I'm sure she's so
Right.
proud.
Right, and it's priceless. It's priceless.
Living the dream.
Right, and I'm glad we was able to really bring him to the spotlight.
Yep. Our next guest is Terry Olson. He is the director of Orange County Arts and Cultural Affairs.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, help us welcome Terry Olson to the spotlight. All right.
Hi.
All right, wait, have a seat, have a
Welcome.
seat.
Thank you.
Come.
You're in the spotlight.
Great.
Definitely nice to have you. Great to have you aboard.
Thank you.
So, director of Orange County Arts and Cultural Affairs. Tell us about it.
Well, at the turn of this millennium, Orange County did a task force looking at arts and culture fairs, what we have, what the funding's like, and how it affects education, and recommended creating an Office of Arts and Cultural Affairs, dedicating 3% of the first 4 cents of our now 6-cent tourist development tax for the arts, and creating an Arts and Culture Affairs Advisory Council. So I was hired to create that office in 2001, and I've been there ever since.
Wow. So 2001, wow, that's a very long time. So I guess you must be doing a great job.
Well, I've been around for a long time.
Now,
What resources do they offer?
Well, so that tourist development tax let's say last year, there was about $8 million that went to the arts from the tourist development tax. That calculation plus an additional set $2 million amount. This year, that calculation went from about $6 million to about $3 million.
Yeah.
Keeping that extra $2 million, and we've been able to save some things. We usually divide that money into several programs: cultural tourism programs, operating expenses for groups, and cultural facilities. but we canceled the cultural facilities in April when we realized that we weren't going to have much money next year, and we canceled it for this coming year because you can't really spend money improving a facility if there's no organization to be in that facility. So
Right.
we're able to offer our arts organizations the same funding bucket that we did last year for cultural tourism programs.
So it sounds like Orange County is supportive of the arts.
It is, and even in this COVID time, Orange County received a bunch of money, of CARES Act money, to be distributed to different things.
Okay.
Most of that was not available to our nonprofit arts, but just recently, the county approved $5 million of the CARES Act money to help our arts facilities get back open, because there's things that need to be done. For instance, Equity won't let actors perform unless there's a certain amount of airflow, so air conditioning systems might have to be upgraded, and
Right.
putting ultraviolet light to purify that air. There may be need to be, by the box office, partitions, testing, if you need to have your staff. So those kind of COVID expenses can be covered by this new $5 million of CARES Act.
And how do people in the arts go about trying to receive that money?
So we use United Arts as our fiscal agent for distributing money. So they have an application,
Okay.
and if you have an arts facility and you have the ability to spend the money by the end of the year and get people into your facility,
Okay.
because the CARES Act has to be spent for opening and getting the public in before the December 30th of this year.
So this is for theaters, local theaters, museums?
Museums. Our museums have been able to open much sooner than our theaters because it's easy to socially distance.
Right.
But if you have a theater and you only have 10 people socially distanced, it doesn't really make it worthwhile to
Right.
put on a production that costs lots of money.
Definitely.
Great. Wow, that's amazing. Now, I hear they call you the arts instigator. All right. Now, like for the people at home and especially people like me, normally when we hear words like instigator,
Instigator.
like we would,
Instigator.
I'm not no instigator. Hey, but when we hear the word instigator, we automatically think that, a person that kind of stirs up ill feeling between individuals
Well,
outside of
stirs the pot.
themselves.
Stirs up is fine,
Yes.
but how about stirs up good feeling?
Yeah, I like
same
positive.
Stirs
thing.
It's very
up
positive.
creative community feeling. So that's my personal mission in life, is to create dynamic events that enliven people. So with this role, I'm not doing that as much myself, but helping other people do that.
Speaking of which, you're involved with the Fusion Fest.
Yes.
Yes.
Started in 2015. I believe we have a clip. Let's watch the clip.
Great.
What is the meaning of the word happiness?
So how many cultures are represented?
We've had over 110 different heritages represented in the food, the performances, the various aspects of the festival.
Now the
Music.
food, now that is my favorite part because
I
I
know,
know
I
I
was
like
looking.
to eat.
Whose isn't it?
Wow, because I love the diversity, and it's almost like visiting all of those countries and experiencing them all in one place.
Well, the festival is about honoring the many heritages that we have here, because we are this incredible crossroads of the world. Crossroads of the worlds are where world cultural capitals happen. So we have this unique platform to show the world that people of different heritages, different ethnicities, different lifestyles can live together in a basis of respect and love as opposed to fear and hate, which comes when you stay in your little silo and you don't know each other. So Fusion Fest is about honoring all those heritages while we're exploring how we're now influencing each other. You know, the things that from the past that bring us to who we are now are part of who we are, and we honor that in each other. And so how are we creating our Central Florida identity together? How are we learning to live together and create something new and unique, which is what a world cultural capital does. They introduce new things to the world.
And it takes place downtown?
It takes place downtown in front of the Dr. Phillips Center for the Performing Arts on the Center of Arts Plaza. This year it will be all on the Center of Arts Plaza. You know, that's been constructing as they've been, parts of it been fenced off because they're building, finishing that building. And things will be a little different because of COVID safety concerns.
Right.
But it will be in person on the 28th and 29th of November. And in addition,
We'll definitely check that out.
Yes.
on Friday the 27th, for 4 hours, there will be a virtual Fusion Fest world that one can enter into this platform, which is called Topia. It's kind of a combination between a video game and Zoom and Facebook. So you will, if you have a computer with Chrome, Google Chrome, you can go, you type in your name and you enter and you've got a little avatar. And then you can go around and explore things. And as you come close to somebody, then their little Zoom box comes up so you can talk to each other in real time. So you can meet the designers of the fashion or some of the dancers or musicians or the chefs. We have kind of two tracks, heritage and fusion. So you can see in music a sitar player and a bagpiper and different heritages represented. Same with all the other areas. But then we have a contest, cash prizes for fusion, in food, in dance, in music,
Fashion.
in fashion. So,
And what's the website? Where do people go to find
sure,
out?
fusionfest.org.
Okay.
Right. FusionFest.org. Everybody. Now, one thing I can say, even just watching the video, what I love is it shows unity. You know what I'm saying? Bringing all the cultures together, you know. And to me, that is amazing. And with the thing you're doing here with the video game type deal, it just kind of is very innovative and creative at the same time, which is, you know, that's another form of just arts in itself. Now, if somebody wants to be a part of Fusion Fest, want to participate, how can they participate in this event?
Well, some of the application areas intent to participate are still open.
Okay.
Some until November 10th will be the final deadline. We've extended some things this year because it's still changing. We don't know exactly what our site's going to be like because the Dr. Phillips Center is planning to put some things out there as well. So things are doing a lot of pivoting this year, right?
all right.
Everybody's pivoting. And
Those who adjust have more fun.
yeah, so if you want to be a food vendor or enter a contest, you have until the 10th of November. And I think for musicians and dancers, spoken word, I think the fashion may be closed. And our film area is already complete. So what we do with that, we partner with Global Peace Film Festival and pair this year 11 filmmakers
Oh, wow.
with 11 subjects on a pairing party on a Friday night. Like, this is your subject.
Wow.
And then they have the weekend, or they had until Wednesday at midnight to prepare a 3 to 5 minute film about that person, their story, who they are, how they got here or their ancestors came here. And
And where can we see that?
So you can see that at Fusion Fest.
Okay.
We did have a premiere at the Enzian during the Global Peace Film Festival at the end of September, but they're not viewable by the public until now the Fusion Fest. Well, they'll be shown there.
Oh, wow. So now you do a lot in the arts. So I know we have COVID-19. So any upcoming events, anything that we can look forward to?
Well, I'd say the big thing that just opened is Pompeii, the Immortal City at the Science Center. So this is an exhibition that it's only 3 places in the United States with 100 artifacts that have never been outside of Italy before, and a very immersive experience as well. So you might feel like you're actually there as the ash of the volcano is covering you up, and there'll be some casts of actual people that were buried alive. So
Wow.
it's a pretty intense experience. Yeah.
Sounds really fascinating. I definitely want to go check that one out.
Yep.
I lived in Italy, so.
Ah. Well, I've been there a few times, but I've never lived there.
So it says also that you were one of the founders of the French Festival.
Yes.
Listen, wait, hold on. I just got to share a personal story.
Yes.
Believe it or not, actually the French Festival is pretty much 90% of the reason that I moved to Orlando. Yeah, I'm serious. Because when I lived in Gainesville, Florida, it's only so far you can go in performing arts. And I had the opportunity to act in a production at the Fringe, and 12 of us drove to Orlando. We stayed in a 1-bedroom apartment, all over each other. But it was there I seen performing arts at its greatest. So many different art forms, and I literally fell in love with it. And I was able to see that, and then went back home. Me and a friend of mine, we drove to Orlando with about $40 between the both of us. And we stayed here. I had the iron in my car. He had the ironing board in his car. And we stayed, and we never left. And we've been a part of the performing arts scene ever since. So to that, I just want to say thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
And definitely keep doing it. If you haven't experienced the Fringe Festival, please
Absolutely.
experience it. Trust me, it'll change your life.
So that came about. I'm also one of the co-founders of SAC Theater, and we moved SAC here from Minnesota for the opening of Epcot Center in 1982, and eventually created the SAC Comedy Lab downtown. But I took a group of SAC performers to the Fringe Festival in Edinburgh, Scotland, which is
That's the
granddaddy
yes,
of them.
That's the original.
basically when World War II was over, all the U.S. servicemen left, and the city's like, we need to do something, get some money back into our city. Let's create an international festival of the arts. And so they had a ballet and an opera and a symphony, and a bunch of theater companies said, hey, can we be in this festival too? And they said no. So they created their own festival on the fringe of this international arts festival. And now the Fringe Festival is 500 performing groups doing thousands of performances over the whole month of August. So we went there, and also when SAC was performing at Expo 86 in Vancouver, some folks who had created the Edmonton Fringe Festival in Canada saw us and wanted us to come there. And so we ended up kind of performing across Canada at different festivals, and said, we should do that in Orlando. So we created one, and now it's the oldest and the biggest Fringe Festival in the United States.
It's so fun. I was able to do a play 2 years ago.
See?
Oh,
And
you
it was,
too?
yeah, I did a play 2 years ago. It was my only play since I was 7 years old. I was in a play when I was 7, and then fast forward.
When you were 17.
Yes, there you go. It was a
Great.
great experience.
So, I mean, you just having this big love for the arts. And so if you could give advice to someone here that just want to put their dream in the spotlight, like what would you say to them?
If you can sell shoes, you might be better off.
Okay.
If you want security, the arts is really not the place for that. Now, I've been fortunate. I've made my living in the arts ever since college. Often I've been creating that opportunity, though. As an actor, I have auditioned for some shows and been in an equity production and once in many years. More often it's been me creating something. And the Fringe Festival was part of making that opportunity available for people. So when I came here in 1982, there was one theater in town. And if there was a show you wanted to do, you hoped that that theater would do it so you could audition and be in it. With the Fringe Festival, we said, go ahead and do it.
Yep.
Anybody can apply. It's first come, first serve at that time. Now it's a lottery kind of situation, but there's no one saying, no, you can't do that,
Everybody can
or you
participate.
aren't good enough. The audience decides that. And with the festival being this, where everybody's talking about what did you see and what did you like, and oh, don't go see that. The audience really is the judge of what's a good show or not. And so, and that kind of direct audience appeal has always appealed to me. SAC started as a street theater company. We'd be performing at a Renaissance festival, for instance, and passing the hat. And there's immediate gratification and feedback about if you get any money in your hat
Yes.
or not.
Right.
If
And
your show sucks,
that's the difference.
you're kind of standing there like, hello.
right.
Please,
But if
please.
you've made those people laugh and have a great time and feel like a community, the money comes pouring in. So I love that kind of direct feedback. And the Fringe in its way is like that as well, because everybody's talking. There's lines, and you're in the green lawn of fabulousness, as producer Beth Marshall used to call it, sitting around talking to each other. And Fusion Fest is that same kind of building a community with even more different and diverse segments of our community. So
But it's still a collaboration.
yeah, it's coming together, and you're all in the same place, and everything is meant to like sample your way around the world. So every 15 minutes on the stage, something's different, usually. So, we had Chinese opera. It was incredible to hear. Probably not something that I personally am understanding, or, a half an hour of it would be maybe more than would hold my attention.
Right.
But 10 minutes of it was great. And where else am I going to see that live right in front of me, kind of thing. Same with the food. It's small portions.
Which then you could sample a lot of
Right.
different
So you
things.
don't want a whole rack of ribs,
Right.
which is a whole meal, but maybe you want a rib and an egg roll and a little taco, or something you'd never tried before, and you can do that. So that's what, the arts, I think, are about. They're about bringing people together, are exploring safely different worlds.
Right.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much
Yes.
for joining us. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right. Hey, well, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it, Mr.
Mr.
Terry
Terry
Olson.
Olson.
And thank you for being on the spotlight.
You bet.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
You know what? It's really good that Orange County supports the arts. I mean, that's a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just the fact that, I'm sure he answered a lot of questions that a lot of people at home had, and how they really help fund projects here in Orlando.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then the Fusion Fest coming up, I definitely want to check that out.
Yes, I want to check out the food. That's my favorite part. I like to eat.
And I want to check out the fashion.
Yeah, man, I think it would be an amazing experience. Let's do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bet.
We'll do it. And then I didn't realize he's behind the Fringe Festival coming here.
Yes, I mean, the Fringe changed my life. And I didn't know you were in the Fringe.
Yes, it was
You
my,
didn't tell me that.
well, it was my first play. Well, I did one when I was like 7 years old. I was, what was it? I played a fairy in Midsummer Night's Dream.
Oh, wow.
So then this play in the Fringe, it was called Flip, and I played the mom. There was 4 of us, so it was in a smaller theater. It was very intimate. It was with Adam McCabe was the director, and it was an awesome experience. And I mean, I love being an actress. I love doing film. Theater is a completely different animal.
Yes,
So,
it
I
sure
mean, I
is.
understand why people love it because it's instant gratification. But I have to say, it's a long process
Yes.
with rehearsals and stuff.
Oh, yeah, trust me,
It-
I know so well. I mean, there's no when it's showtime. It's showtime. There's no do-overs.
No do-overs.
No cuts. Let's do it again. And it's live. But the energy you feel from the audience, man,
Yes.
it's priceless, man. It's amazing.
Absolutely.
Man, but I didn't know you were that deeply rooted into the arts. I know you dibbled and dabbled here and there,
Oh,
but
look who's
I didn't
talking.
know you really, back when you were little now.
Look who's talking there, Mr. Wop. Doing the Wop.
Past of the vibrant city of Pompeii. Witness the eruption of Mount Vesuvius. Discover hundreds of artifacts. Pompeii, the immortal city. Only at the Orlando Science Center. Get your tickets now online at osc.org.
Now, our next guest is a talented singer, performer who has a bright future ahead of her.
This lovely young woman is well beyond her 15 years of age. So please welcome to the spotlight stage, Miss Josie Pantoja.
It's not simple to say that most days I don't recognize me with these shoes and this apron. That place and its patrons have taken more than I gave them. It's not easy to know I'm not anything like I used to be, although it's true I was never attention's sweet center. I still remember that girl. She's imperfect, but she tries. She is good, but she lies. She is hard on herself. She is broken and won't ask for help. She is messy, but she's kind. She is lonely most of the time. She is all of this mixed up and baked in a beautiful pie. She is gone, but she used to be mine. And it's not what I asked for. Sometimes life just slips in through a back door and carves out a person and makes you believe it's all true. And now I got you, and you're not what I asked for. If I'm honest, I know I would give it all back for a chance to start over and rewrite an ending or two for the girl that I knew who'll be reckless just enough, who gets hurt but who learns how to toughen up when she's bruised and gets used by a man who can love. And then she'll get stuck and be scared of the life that's inside her, growing stronger each day till it finally reminds her to fight just a little and bring back the fire in her eyes. And that's been gone, but it used to be mine. Oh, used to be mine. She is messy, but she's kind. She is lonely most of the time. She is all of this mixed up and baked in a beautiful pie. She is gone, but she used to be mine.
Man. Like, I gotta
Josie, oh my gosh.
Right. I touched my whole left side. You got me over here.
Okay, excuse me. Look at, like, I have.
Oh my goodness.
Please
That-
sit.
yes.
Sit.
Wow, that was
You're in the spotlight. Oh my goodness, that was amazing.
Thank you so
that was just phenomenal. The innocence in that, man, it was like poetry. It
Tell
was
me
like,
about that song. What's the
Yes.
name of it?
So
Where's it from?
the song is She Used to Be Mine from the musical Waitress. It's actually one of my favorite musicals at the moment. I don't even know what it is about the musical. It's just the first time I listened to it, I felt really connected in a way, even though I have like nothing to be connected
Right.
with. But it was just, it's a beautiful song, and
It's incredible.
the
But
message-
you sang it so beautifully.
thank you.
Really.
And the
truly.
the message behind it can really be like taken differently for any person, and it's just a really felt song. So I really love that song.
wow,
You sang
wow.
it.
I'm
I
sure.
goosebumps, tears.
Yeah,
really.
I'm sure you not only moved us, but everybody at home. I mean, you're not human if that didn't move you in some type of way. Wow. So listen, so how long have you been singing?
I've been singing professionally since the age of 8, but I started singing ever since I was little, just singing around the house and stuff.
So how did you? I mean, so you just woke up one day. How did you
Right.
discover that you love to sing? How did it? happen
I
for
used
you?
to watch the show Victorious,
Okay.
and it was just like a high school where they sung and stuff, which is what I wanted to do. And I also fell in love with the movie Tangled. Still love that movie. But I was singing the song. It's like flower gleaming glow, let your power shine. And my mom heard, and she was like, "Whoa, like that's kind of good." And so they got me a music coach, and I've just stuck with
Well,
it.
hey,
Singing ever
thanks to
since.
mom. Thanks to
Yes,
mom.
absolutely.
Yeah, because that says a lot. You know, when you have supportive parents, sometimes they can see things in you that you
Yeah,
can't see in yourself.
definitely.
So definitely, man. Hey, kudos to mom and dad and being supportive.
Yes,
Yes.
definitely.
So let me ask you this: like singing, do you ever still get nervous at this point?
Heck yeah, definitely. I don't really think the nerves ever go away. You're always gonna get nervous. It's just human nature.
Right.
But I definitely always get nervous. I think I've found ways to calm myself down and not let the nerves get to me as much. But there are gonna be some performances where it gets worse or when it's better and stuff. But always.
So, do you have an embarrassing moment?
Oh.
Definitely. I think my most embarrassing, not as embarrassing, but more of the funniest moment is I was probably 10 and I was singing for a festival kind of thing. And it was on a field. So I get on stage and then I start feeling this like pinching in my foot. And I'm just ignoring it. I'm ignoring it. And then it just gets worse. And I was singing a song called One Step at a Time. So during my performance, I'm just like stepping and trying to like get whatever is on my foot off. And so I run off the stage after I'm done, which I think is really surprising because
You finished the whole song.
Yes, I feel like I probably would have just ran off and started crying, but something just like kept me on stage. So I finished singing, I run off, my dad picks me up, we go over to his water fountain, and there's like fire ants all up my
Oh,
my
wow.
leg. And I guess I stepped on like an ant pile before I got on, and it was like really bad. It was really bad, but it was really funny to like look on now.
Wow, that's
So,
crazy.
do you have a
That's
fear of
wild.
fire ants now?
I don't think I have a fear, but it's like if I see one, I'm not gonna be like,
Yeah.
oh wow, a fire ant. I'm gonna be like, no, fire ant.
Because I have a true fear of bees. I was like 6
Bees?
years old and a bee flew up. I had these little pants on and in the middle of church. And the priest literally had to stop church. Yeah. I think they probably thought I was possessed anyway, so I still have a major fear
Oh
of
my
bees. So I hate any type of biting bugs.
Man.
Yeah.
Listen, but just the fact that you were able to finish a whole song while being eaten by fire
It's a true
ants.
performer.
Just want to say that true performer and determination is that.
Very professional.
Thank you.
The show must go on.
Always.
Yes.
Always. The show must always go on no matter what.
So you're in school. What grade?
10th grade.
10th grade. And
Yes.
Do you have a favorite subject?
I think science would definitely have to be one of my favorites. I've just always loved it. I don't know why, but I think my favorite like kind of science I've worked on is astronomy and marine biology.
I actually went to a camp in 5th grade, and it was a marine biology camp. And we went to the Keys, and we went scuba diving and got to look at like fish and coral and learn about organisms that were found in the ocean. I think it was really, really cool. I would so love to do that again.
So you're well-rounded. I mean, there's the arts and then science, and you're right and left brain.
Thank you.
And college?
Oh, college. Whoa, that's a big subject. I don't think I have a certain college I really want to go to. I think NYU would be cool. I really just want to keep or like stay in performing arts.
Absolutely, and you should.
Thank you.
You definitely should.
Thank you. I just want to end up in New York. I don't think it really matters what I'm doing, but I really, really want to go to New York.
Wow. Well, with your gift, I mean, you definitely belong in New York. That is the place to be. I mean, the city of performing arts. So I got to say, you're gifted, and I mean, you have the voice of an angel.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
So with performing arts, then, do you dance as well?
I actually do dance. I was with a performing group called Elevate, and we sung and danced at like the same time. That was more hip hop, but I also have worked on like ballet and musical theater and stuff like that. But yeah, I love dance too. Dance is really cool.
So musical theater. What's your favorite play?
My favorite one that I've done?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. I think one of my favorites is it's a play called Seussical. It's based off of a bunch of different Dr. Seuss books, like Horton Hears a Who and like Gertrude with the birds and stuff. I played Maisie. She's like this really big, extravagant character. She's a big bird who has like huge feathers, and Gertrude has tiny feathers, and so she's jealous of Maisie, and Maisie's all like, oh, well, I have better feathers than you.
Right.
And her whole storyline is just hilarious. Like, she ends up having an egg and then giving it to Horton, and he has to like keep the egg, and then she runs off with birds. I don't know. I think it's so funny. It's such a funny storyline. It's so like not me, but also some aspects are so me.
Right.
So that was probably one of my most fun roles I played.
So what do you have? Anything up and coming here? What can we expect from you?
Yes, I just did a show called Spoon River. It's based off a bunch of dead people, and we tell our stories. That was on October 29th and 30th, so that's already passed. But upcoming, I have a Christmas show for Festival of Trees over by the Shakespeare Theater, like Science Center. And I just sing a bunch of Christmas songs, and that's on November 21st.
Okay.
It's a Saturday.
November 21st, so if y'all want to come.
Do you know the time?
1
o'clock.
Okay.
Perfect.
1 o'clock, November 21st. Please come out and see this young lady. She's so gifted and talented.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm going.
Thank you.
Yeah, me too. I mean,
Thank you.
an incredible voice. Wow.
Thank you.
Wow.
Okay. So, what would you say to that little girl or little boy or anyone that's chasing a dream here that want to get out there and put their dream in the spotlight so the rest of the world can see? What would you say?
I think most people would be like, oh, go get a vocal coach or start doing community theater or stuff like that. But I think really something people have to focus on is themselves when it comes to stuff like this. I think definitely self-worth, to find your self-worth and to find that in you, that you know you're good and you know you can do this. I think that really helps you go along your journey, because that voice in your head that's telling you, oh, I'm not good enough, or oh, I could have done that so much better, or oh, this person sounded better, or this person said this, stuff like that, that's only gonna bring you down and bring you farther back in your journey forward. So I feel like self-worth and finding that love for what you're doing and that love for yourself is just gonna help you so much more. All those positive thoughts, really.
Are you sure you're 15?
I was just saying that because I mean, what you just said was, I mean, very
It's
powerful.
profound.
Yes. I mean, the fact that, because not everyone has someone they can look up to for inspiration. Inspiration has to come from within. So with that being said, I mean, that's amazing. So how can everybody follow you? If somebody want to support you and follow your journey, how can we follow you?
You guys can definitely follow me on my YouTube. It's Josie Pantoja. I'll spell it out, Pantoja. And then I have an Instagram, which is Josie Pantoja_music, where we post some things of me singing, upcoming events that I have. If you guys ever want to check in, you definitely can. But yeah, I think that's probably it. But if you look me up, you'll probably find some more stuff there.
Well, all good, I'm sure, because you are
Thank you.
such a lovely young woman. Really, truly.
Thank you.
All right.
You have a bright future ahead of you.
Thank
Well,
you.
you're definitely a natural.
Thank
So, ladies and gentlemen, hey, listen, there you have it. This amazing talent, Josie Pantoja. And we just want to say thank you.
Yes,
for
thank you. Thank you so much.
being in the
for-
spotlight.
Of course. Thank you for having me. This is fun. It's fun.
Unbelievable.
Yes, I mean,
Tears. Tears.
yeah. I told you, she touched my whole left side, you know, and but she just has like literally a voice from the heavens, and I mean,
But she's so grounded and so adult, and
only 15 years old.
I know.
You know what? Listen, if I could sing, I mean, I wouldn't even talk. You know, I just start singing anytime, just to drop. Listen, all right, listen. If I could sing, look, I wouldn't even talk.
Well, I know I can sing. People would pay me not to sing.
Man, I'll just sing anywhere. At the drop of a hat, I'll just jump in and say, and I am telling you.
Easy now, buddy.
Just saying. But listen, she's gifted. That's her talent. I'll stay in my lane.
She truly is.
Yes.
Unbelievable. We had such a great show today. I
We
mean,
did.
such a diverse group. And it just goes to show you that it doesn't matter the age. I mean, anybody could be involved with the arts.
I totally agree.
And there's one thing that stood out to me today
What was
was you have to truly love this business
And be very passionate about it.
and work hard.
Yes.
Work hard.
Well, everyone, we hope you enjoyed the show tonight. And
I know I did.
yeah, me too.
Join us next time on
The Spotlight.
Spotlight.